Nicole, welcome to the Rain or Shine podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today. A bit of a role swap. I was on your podcast a few months back, and we kind of got to get to know each other on the podcast, which is really fun. You and I met at a High Vibe Women event, and we got to sit at tables and just chat through
Mhm.
strategies. And then we started following each other on Instagram and kind of share a lot in common. So it's really fun to be able to just get to know you in small doses and now to have a chance to selfishly just learn more about you and all the different hats that you wear with my aligned purpose and as a mother and as someone who's navigating this crazy transition
Yeah.
of all things. So officially welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so looking forward to chatting again and yeah, just being here and being in your energy.
Well, I know you are a pro at podcasting. You have hosted over 600 episodes on your show. So I don't really need to warm you up, but I do like to do rapid fire just at the beginning. So
Okay.
let's start off with a question around when you've had a super busy week. So you've been going, you've been momming, you've been working, you've been traveling. How do you wind down at the first opportunity where you have some breathing space? What are those rituals or routines or just things that you do to just decompress, whether you have a minute or an entire evening?
Oh my gosh, this literally just happened to me last week. So last week we hosted an in-person VIP day, and so that ran from 9:30 till about 3:30 out of my house at this woman wanted to have it at her home instead of like the co-working space we are typically at.
Cool.
So you're in somebody else's energy in their home, that sort of thing. So there all day. And then Thursday, Friday, we hosted 4 hour back to back training calls for our mastermind. We do that every second month, every 60 days. And we wrapped up the final call of a smaller mastermind. So it just felt so full on. And this was off the back of the previous week. I was in Toronto. I came out for the High Vibe Women Yacht Day. So I had been traveling and then boom, boom, boom. And then this past weekend rolled around and we had guests over on Saturday. And Saturday night when they left, I said to my husband, I want tomorrow to be a duvet day. And this term duvet day
Duvet day.
comes from my mom is really into the British show called Coronation Street. It's been on for like 65 years.
Yep.
And they talk about having duvet days on Coronation Street. So every once in a while, my mom will say, oh, I'm just having a duvet day. And a duvet day is literally where you've got like your duvet on the couch and you're propped up and you are cozy and there's nowhere to be. And I said to him Saturday night, that is what my nervous system needs. I need to just not have to get out of bed for anything. So if you can get up and do all this stuff with the baby, take care of the dog.
Yep.
Can you bring me my coffee in bed? I want to just lay in bed and I don't want to make any plans. And my husband's a planner. And I said, I don't want to make any plans. And that's what I did Sunday. And by 3 o'clock on Sunday, I went out halfway through the day and went and got some skincare and came back
Yep.
home. But by 3 o'clock, I said, oh my gosh, I feel so rejuvenated from reading. I listened to an audiobook. Like I just closed my eyes and listened. I laid in bed longer than I typically do. And honestly, in this season of life, that was exactly what I needed.
Hmm. I love that you shared that. And first of all, good for you for asking your husband, like, can you just deal with the little things like the dog walk and bring me my
Hmm.
coffee? Because I think so often we would just like get up and do it ourselves. But what a luxury to just vocalize what you need in that moment. And it really
Yeah.
speaks to just the fact that, especially all of us who are new moms and entrepreneurs, there are going to be seasons that feel really busy where we're kind of stretching and kind of meeting all the demands. But on the other side of that, hopefully we can have that bit more of like the contraction or the duvet day.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe things won't be in balance for the next few years, but that's okay because it's kind of fun to either be gas pedal, traveling, doing all the work, or resting and knowing when you need that time.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you had have asked me this a couple of years ago, even a year ago I was pregnant, so maybe it would have looked different, but a couple of years ago before having a baby, what did my downtime look like after a really busy week? It was a lot more like, oh, I would go to this yoga class and then I would go on a hike in the woods and it
Yeah,
would still be doing. It would still be outing and going and
true.
doing. And I was like, my battery, I'm a generator in human design. So if I don't force the slow down, I literally won't stop. And I just said, I know I have to just lay in bed and do nothing. And yeah, it was exactly what was needed.
I love that. You describe yourself as a student for life. I pulled that from your Instagram. So I'm curious, is there anything you're currently studying or reading or obsessing over at this stage?
Yes, so many things.
And what are those
um,
things?
okay. Well, right now I'm really into learning the like deeper ways that Claude can help me organize my life, because I would also say while I'm a student for life, I'm also, I think, undiagnosed with some sort of like ADD or ADHD or
Yeah.
something. And I it will have these spurts of moments where I think of 50 things on my to-do list
Yep.
and then maybe don't activate them or I forget about them. But I have been working with Cowork and Claude to really figure out how to voice what I comes up for me to Claude, and then it organizes it into the Eisenhower Matrix for me of like what's urgent and important, not urgent, not important, that sort of thing. Then it goes and plugs it directly into my reminders app on my phone. So I
Yep.
get the reminder of like, hey, remember you had to like book this appointment. And I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. So I feel like I'm really doing a deep dive on Claude, which is super fun. And kind of like what I've always been a student of that I don't teach it because I don't feel like I won't teach something I don't feel like I've mastered. But over the years, I've been really diving into all things human design, astrology, Kabbalah,
Mm,
I would say those three things like really intertwined. And a past version of me, from my mid 20s to my mid 30s, I was really into yoga. And so I did, 200-hour training, 500-hour training, a yin training. And I was doing all these trainings and like learning the sutras and learning all the different things about yoga. And then I
yep.
kind of put that down when COVID hit because I couldn't teach in person anymore and teaching online wasn't for me. But there
Yeah.
is this deep part of me that longs for and craves studying spiritual practices, not
Mm,
religion, but spiritual, and really understanding or trying to understand like what do I believe in and what feels good to take in more information on. So I would say those are some of the things I'm into right now. And then also like baby led weaning
yeah.
and
Yeah.
how to get my baby to do these certain things at this stage in life. So yeah, definitely feel like a student of many things, but definitely human design, astrology, numerology, Kabbalah, Claude. Those are like at the top of my list right now.
So fun that it like spans the spectrum of like everything from AI, structure, time management, all the way through to spirituality and what do I believe in and baby led weaning. And it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because I was just at the chiropractor and I had some time just in the waiting room and I started writing one of those posts that it's like an Instagram reel that's gone viral and it's like, Dear Instagram algorithm, introduce me to the woman
Mm-hmm.
who. And it's funny because I wrote a lot of those things, like a lot around I think deeply, I like, feel the vibrations of nature, and I love strategy and data, and I love helping people to rank online with their Google and SEO. And it was just funny to like see the duality of like, you can be this and you can be that. And I love that
Mm-hmm.
we're at this stage where we can just openly declare it and be like, do you like all of me? Because that's all I can be.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
and I think that the more, people like ourselves who have a platform like a podcast or like a social platform, vocalizing that others are watching or listening or following us, like you can be multi-passionate. You cannot have it all figured out yet. I'm 40. I feel like I'm going to be a student until my days are done on this earth. So it doesn't have
Mhm.
to end when you like get a diploma or a
Yeah.
degree. You can still always choose to learn if that's something you desire. It's not for everybody.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the entrepreneurs listening will very much resonate with that hunger and desire to keep changing and evolving and growing. And you know what? That's why a lot of us got into business too, is because we couldn't just
Mm.
keep following the same fixed mindset, office culture, all the things. So
Yeah, exactly.
So you describe yourself in your new mom era. So you
Mhm.
have an 8-month-old named Cruz. So that's obviously something that I think you had Cruz at 39. So did you always know you wanted to be a mom? Were you more like head down working on your business? What did the trajectory of your 30s look like? And describe what it's been like moving into motherhood at 39.
Oh my gosh, I love this question. I I never thought I wanted to be a mom ever. And, except for when my mom pulls out like the stuff from when I was in kindergarten,
Oh,
it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it'd be like an artist and a mom. But I
oh.
think probably by the time I was a teenager, I I developed, I don't know where it came from, a very deep fear of childbirth. It was so, so, so deep. I can't even describe it. I felt like if I gave birth to a child, I would be that statistic of somebody who passes away. Like I will not be able to go through with childbirth. I can't handle that pain. And so I kind of wrote it off as like, no, I'm never going to have kids. I don't want that. And then into my 20s, I started traveling a lot and like living this very nomadic, free as a bird lifestyle. And I was always thinking all throughout my 20s, why would anybody ever want to have a kid and settle down? Why would anybody ever want to buy a house and be tied to one spot? Like my belief system was just so opposite to the life I'm living right now. And I was with somebody for 6 years and we were engaged. And I don't recall us ever talking about having kids. And then we broke up when I was 30. And I started to have this like a little bit of panic of, oh my gosh, my friends are starting to have kids and moving up in their careers and buying homes and getting married. And I'm newly single. I don't have kids. I don't own a home. And I think I want to quit my teaching job and move overseas and like travel around Australia. So I'm starting to have this like panic of I'm not fitting in with what society says I should be or do. And that like really messed with my mindset a lot because I felt like, why can't I just want this life that everybody else wants for me? Or why can't I settle? And so I moved over to Australia at 30 and I was there for a year, came back to Canada, and I was still in this mindset of I don't want kids because I don't want the responsibility. I like sleeping in. I like my own time. I'm really into yoga and slow and quiet. Like there's no way I would ever want a child to disrupt that. And then I met my now husband at 34, I believe, 34, 35. We'll be together 6 years this fall. And okay, so 34, I meet him, our very first date. He says, do you want kids? And I said, no, and I never have. So if that's a deal breaker for you, I totally get it. But I just want to be like very honest. I don't want kids. And he said, oh, it's not a deal breaker for me. I'm more or less like looking to find my person. So we start dating, we hit it off, we fall in love really fast, we get engaged, we get married. A year and a half passes or something like that. And I was doing a guided meditation. I was participating in a guided meditation. And there were these two women, and they were in their 70s. It was online. They were in their 70s, they were twin sisters, and they were NLP practitioners. And I can't quite remember what we were doing, but I remember there was a basket and we were like putting things down from our past and picking things up from our future. And then all of a sudden, I had this very clear visual of two kids in like Christmas PJs, and they were lanky, standing in front of a fireplace, like 4 and 6 years old. And never, and Kelsey, I'm like a vision boarder, mind movie, visionary type of person, journaler, all these sorts of things. Never, ever, ever did my vision include kids. And I was like,
Wow.
what? What is happening? Who are these kids? Are they mine? Do I want these? And then I came out of that meditation and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to tell Jeff that I think I want kids. And it's been way too long now. We've never talked about it again because I just said, close that door. I don't want them. And so I kind of sat with it for maybe a day or two. And then I was like, okay, I've got to tell him. The feeling would not go away. I'm like, I want kids. I want kids and I hope it's not too late. So I tell Jeff and he's like, oh, Jeff's pretty like even keel. He's like, oh, okay, great. And that's awesome. I'd love to have kids with you. And I said, but not right yet. I still want us to have a little bit more time together. And so in March of 2023, we went to Las Vegas for my 38th birthday and 37th birthday. And I knew I was ovulating. And I was like, you know what? We should just try and have a baby right now. I bet it'll happen on the first try because we're both so healthy. I bet you that's what will happen. And, a couple weeks pass and I get my period and I'm like, oh, weird. I thought it would just happen. And that was the beginning of 2 years of every single cycle testing ovulation, testing negative tests, going to the fertility clinic, having all the blood work done, having my eggs tested, him having everything tested. And it kept coming back fine. Everything was fine. They were like, there's nothing wrong here, like that we can see. It seems like it's just a timing issue. And I was really starting to get worried of like, oh no, like we're both approaching 40. This isn't going to happen for us. And then in February of last year, February 2025, on Valentine's Day, I tested and it was positive, my very first positive test. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I can't believe it. We were so excited. And for 5 days, because I lost that pregnancy 5 days later, for 5 days, we dreamed up a whole other life. It
Oh,
was like this whole other life that I had just never been able to tap into before. And we were like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so amazing and making all these plans. And then I lost that pregnancy. So that loss showed me two things. It showed me that I really wanted to be a mom. If I was questioning, do I want this or not? I was like, no, I really, really want this. And the other thing that it showed me was that I want it now. And all these other fears that I have around, like, what will it do to my business? What will it do to my body? What will it do to my bank account? I was just like, literally none of that matters. I want this baby so bad. And so I had that period and then one more cycle. And then Jeff and I, the following, so that March of 2025, 2 years later, we went
yep.
to Mexico for my birthday. And when we came home, tested positive. And now we have Cruz.
Oh my.
And we're both 40 now. So I had Cruz in December. I turned 40 in March. And so I'm in my new mom era. I didn't think that I wanted kids. And now that I'm a mom and, specifically like Cruz's mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm
Yep.
on this planet. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is my purpose. I'm going to make it my whole identity. I love everything about this. And if you had have told me that 5 years ago, I would never have believed you.
Hmm. Oh my goodness, there's so much I want to unpack there, but I want to ask you first, what did that season, that entire season of trying to conceive, which it can be so just emotionally exhausting living in those 2 week cycles and then having
Hmm.
loss on top of that. What did that season teach you? And a kind of part two to that question, which might be a bit weird. Did that season teach you anything specifically related to your business that was unexpected?
Mm. Well, to answer the first question, I know what I started to feel a lot of guilt and I don't know if regret's the word, a lot of guilt for how I showed up or
Mm,
lack of showing up for the close people in my life who had had trouble conceiving before. I
yep.
thought about every time I ever said, like, just like take a vacation or like lower your stress or, trying to come up with all the things to
Yep.
support the people I love that were also struggling. And then thinking like, I don't I don't need an effing vacation. Like
Yeah.
that is not going to solve this problem. I don't know what solved it for us. I literally don't know if it was a timing thing. But yeah, I felt a lot of like guilt for the lack of compassion that I didn't have for close people in my life because I didn't know. I just didn't know the depths of it. And it's kind of like the same way being a new mom of like, oh my gosh, I would have showed up so differently for my friends
Mhm.
knowing what you need, but I didn't know. So,
I didn't know.
we do better when we know better. So it taught me a lot about deep compassion, deep empathy. And I would say I always would have considered myself to be compassionate and empathetic, but like on a completely different level.
Yep.
And I'm also somebody who, I love affirmations and I love positive sayings and outlooks. And I would have been somebody up to this point who did believe like the universe has your back and divine timing and all these sorts of things. But I really had to lock in and believe in divine timing, that this baby wasn't going to come through when I wanted him to come through. He was coming through when he was supposed to come through. And this like deeper layer and level of trust that I know I'm meant to be a mom. It is going to happen. And I
Hmm.
have to just keep like sticking with that vision and that trust of I don't know when and I don't know how, but I am a big believer that when you know what you want and you know why you want it, the universe, God, source, creator, whomever you believe in, it will deliver. That was my belief. So it was like a deeper relationship to trust, to compassion, to empathy. What it taught me about my business was, and I'm actually going to say more so since I've had crews, but it has been a journey in the trying time to now,
Yeah.
is everything in business I have wanted fast. I've been like, I want this fast. I want it now. I want it yesterday. We move at lightning speed around here. So there's myself and my business partner, Kayla. She's a manifesting generator. I'm a generator. Every team member we've ever brought on has been like, you two move so fast. And we're like, yep, hop on because this is the speed at which we go. And then in that trying period, I was also like, I want to get pregnant now. I want it now, 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 now. And now that I have him, I'm like, oh my gosh, can everything please just slow down? If everything could just come to a halt or at a much slower speed, I would be a-okay with that. And if that meant everything, like
Hmm.
business results was slower, but I got to experience more of like the little moments with him instead of each day feeling like a year has passed, I would take that. So it's really showed me that my relationship with time is wow, just be present. It's everything that you want wants you back. It will arrive in its divine timing. And just like take a moment and be where your feet are.
Hmm. Yeah, I love studying just the concept of time and why time seems to fly and like how we can kind of slow it down, and if we
Mm.
can kill time, how can we also birth time and like stretch minutes into hours. So yeah, it's such a fun topic to explore. As we kind of wrap up this segment of your motherhood journey, I am super curious to know, um, in thinking about how somebody can navigate that postpartum season when they're really uncertain about like, because we can do all the planning and we can strategize and we can prepare for mat leave, but I find that when baby comes, so much shifts both within us, in our desires, in the way we need to structure our business. What is one thing kind of you wish you knew going into postpartum as an entrepreneur that you wish someone had maybe told you before or that you had to learn in the moment?
Well, my business partner, Kayla, has had her two daughters in the time that we've had Mile Lane Purpose. And so leading up to having Cruise, she was like, you're going to want like a few solid months of
Mm,
nobody messaging you, nothing on the calendar. And I was like, no, 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 it's fine. I want to take our Thursday calls because we run a year-long mastermind and the calls are always on Thursday.
yeah.
And she said, all right, you're saying that, but I know that you're not going to want to do that when the new year rolls around. I was supposed to have him on Christmas Eve and he came December 1st. So, um, I feel like I had like little bits of people telling me or warning or whatever it might be of you're going to want to soak up every minute. It doesn't matter how tired or exhausted you are, and it doesn't matter how much you love your business, you're really actually going to want to soak up all these moments because it's going to go by so fast and you're never going to get that again. And I didn't understand it because again, if you've never had a
Mhm.
baby yet, you just don't even know the amount of like insane expansion of your heart and love that happens. And you like, I could stare at him for 24 hours a day. And so then I was like, oh gosh, I said that I would start coming back to work at this time and taking these
Ah.
calls, and I don't want to. I really wish that somebody or that I had been told like more seriously of you think this, but you don't know this yet. So you
Yep.
don't know it. Just take the time off.
Hmm.
And I would have taken more time off and more, I would have been a lot more intentional about it, not checking the DMs, not checking my email. Like all that was taken care of. And I had an astrology reading in the fall of 2025. So I had cruise December 1st, and I worked with this astrologer, I think in September, and we did a year ahead reading. She knew I was having a baby. And we talked about how come December, January, what was really going to be important in my life at that time was very much expressing my needs, my boundaries, and my level of receiving had to go up and really trusting the team. And
Mm.
Kayla and I have had a lot of trust issues with team members we've brought in of saying they could do things they couldn't do or leaving us high and dry. And so, like, my trust is there with Kayla 100%. But anybody else who we were taking on to help fill my shoes, I was like, oh,
Yep.
I don't know if I can really trust this. But what I realized after having Cruise was I actually don't care. Like, as Dan Martell says, 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome. Please take these
Yep.
podcast recordings off my hands and edit them to the best of your ability because I do not want to do that right now. And
Mm.
so I think like we have a client, actually, her due date was yesterday. And, her and I have been chatting a lot. And she said to me, like, oh, I want to, keep working. I want to be able to do what you did and like be able to still take calls. And I said, I hear that, and just give yourself a few months. If a month or so passes and you are just desperately missing work, you're not going to. But if you're desperately missing work, then take on the calls, but plan for the time off.
Hmm. Such a great reminder, especially as I go into this transition too. And there'll be always demands on your time and people asking, oh, can you squeeze me in at this date, this time? And I think it's really challenging for us as business owners to say no, to put up boundaries, to draw a little bit of a line in the sand and just say, I'm going to be less visible and go dark for a few months. But you're so right. It's like you will never regret taking that break, quote unquote. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I don't know if you found this, but I just went into a whole different creative portal and I thought about my business, albeit much less while I was on mat leave, but I thought about it in different ways and I kind of regained a few sparks that I had lost towards it. So it was a break where I actually was able to like do some processing and come back with a completely fresh attitude. So we all know breaks are good, but yeah, I think just sometimes shifting your focus is the best thing you can do to step into a new chapter or open a new book when you come back.
Yeah, and I think for us, we are 6.5 years into our business. It really, like, there was no other option than to say, okay, if we're going to keep going at the pace we've been going and or scale, we have to automate and or delegate. And so it really
Yep.
just forced us to actually hand things off instead of being like, we can do it, so we'll just do it. Like, yes, as women, we're amazing. We can do it all, but you don't
Yeah.
have to do it all. And so I
Mhm.
think finding the things in your business that you can automate or systematize, that doesn't require a human, great. You want those things in place. And then
Mhm.
for the things that you can't automate or systematize on your own, get the right people in. I love the book Who Not How,
Yeah.
and just really thinking about who can help me right now rather than like, how do I figure this out on my own?
Mm. So you've been in business 6.5 years. We all know that running your own company is a roller coaster. And I think when you add motherhood onto that, it just adds a whole different playing field as well. So I want to shift into a bit of a conversation just around business resilience and how you've
Mm-hmm.
navigated the roller coaster. You mentioned in an Instagram post that you had a crazy hard 8 week stretch, and I believe that happened back in the spring, just
Mm-hmm.
where you had to cut ties and draw boundaries. And I'm curious if you can just reflect to us, like, how you navigate a season like that as a seasoned entrepreneur. What are some of the tools you had to call on when you probably wanted to throw in the towel or, just rant with your business partner or be like, what the heck is going on? How do you get through seasons of hardship? Because we all go through them. And I think it's really good to know how others are moving forward.
Yeah, I feel like, now that I'm on the other side, thank goodness, and I'm not like in the messy middle, I can reflect and say, oh, okay, that's what I did.
Yep.
But yes, May and June were painfully hard. The hardest 8 weeks, 2 months that I've personally had and we have had in our business in years. And it all came to a head of we hosted a 100 plus person event. We sold it out. We launched at that event like, hey, we're writing a book and did the reveal of our book cover. And it was supposed to be this really great, amazing weekend. And we had a very off-putting interaction with somebody at our event that led into multiple, it's like for confidentiality reasons, like I can't actually get into the meat, the juice of it all, but it was left me feeling really nervous of like, oh my gosh, like what's this going to look like, the reputation of our business. At the end of the day, we always knew we were taking the high road and we were going to be okay, but it was just like, can they twist this to make it look another way? But it really showed us we don't want to work with people like that
Nope.
and we don't want to attract people like that. And then we had a few clients that we were like, this actually isn't aligned. And that felt really hard to say, this isn't a great fit. And then we had a team member who had been with us since all of 2026 that just repeatedly kept dropping the ball. And we were like, this isn't working. And it was all like coming to a head and it was feeling really uncomfortable. And add into that, I was at that stage of it with Cruz where he was doing his 4 month sleep regression, but at like 5 months, and trying to figure out how to sleep. And then my hair started falling out. It was like a whole thing.
Yep.
I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through. But what did get me through that hard time is a few things. I kept reminding myself, like, so mindset's my thing. I do really believe that I've got a nice, strong mindset, which serves me well. Some people have like really admirable biceps and like abs. And I believe that mine is my mind. And I work on strengthening it every single day. So I had to just remind myself of a few things. Nicole, you've been in challenging situations before in your business and in your life. This is not the first time that it feels really effing hard, and it's not going to be the last, actually. So just ride the wave. And I've really learned to like actually just sit in the discomfort and not try and solve the problem immediately, which a past version of me could never understand. When somebody would say, like, just be with your feelings, I'm like, what does that mean? Because I'm all in my head. So, what do you mean, feel it in my body? But I took so many drives in those 8 weeks, and which kind of reflected me back to being a teenager. I lived in a really small town in rural Nova Scotia. And when I got my license, and if I was going through like something that felt challenging with my teenage boyfriend or whatever it was, I would
Yep.
actually just like ask my parents, like, can I take the car? And I'd go for a drive and I would listen to music and I would clear my head. And I was going for lots of drives. I would pack the baby in the car, he'd fall asleep. And sometimes I would just like cry for like 2 hours and drive and just like let all the emotions come out. And I
Yep.
just felt like, okay, this is my safe space. I can, release all the emotion and the tears here. And like, I'm also not putting it on my baby. He's asleep in the back seat. But
Yep.
I didn't, I'm not the type of person that likes to process things in the moment that I'm going through them with somebody because I don't want anybody else's opinions to influence the direction I want to go. And
Yep.
I know that I could be influenced really easily. So I'm always really mindful to just like take some solo time first, then bring it to a friend or to my husband or my mastermind or whatever it is. So I took a lot of alone time, a lot of drives. I let the tears come out. And I, play through the scenarios, the conversations in my head, and then realize like, Nicole, you can't email that past client and say that. But it's a good thing that you processed it in your head first. So, like,
Yep.
getting those sorts of things out, what's okay, what's not okay. I'm in a Canadian mastermind. There's 8 of us in it, 8 women. And so, very vocal with them of here's what's going on. And they're all really successful, seasoned entrepreneurs. So they're like,
Yep.
yeah, you've got this. It does suck right now. And you guys are going to make it through because they'd all been through similar situations as well. So I think taking it to people who truly understand the situation that you're in and can give you level-headed advice is really important. I'm not going to take this type of concern to a friendship that doesn't quite understand entrepreneurship. It just isn't a match, or it's not going to be in alignment, in my opinion. So I was doing a lot of that. And, I am a big podcast, student for life, a big podcast Audible book listener. And I was listening to things. Actually, it's funny that you say like you're really fascinated by time. Been listening to things that were just reminding me that this is just a blip in
Mhm.
the grander, season of life and business. And a
Yep.
book that I've been really into and that I just kind of keep listening to is called Time as a Tool. Have you
Hmm, I
listened to
haven't,
that?
no, but I'm going to write it down.
Okay, it's by Benjamin Hardy, and I forget the other guy, but Benjamin Hardy also wrote 10x is easier than 2x.
Yep.
And so, Time as a Tool is all about the actual like Newtonian versus whatever other scientist has studied time
Yeah.
and quantum time and how we can expand
Oh,
time and collapse
cool.
time and how to set these like big quote unquote unrealistic dreams and goals. And I was like, okay, in 5 years' time, will all of this matter to me? No. And then I kept scaling it back. In a year's time, will all of this matter to me? No. And then so I was like, okay, it's like it does feel really big right now, but it's not going to feel really big if I decide that it's not going to take any more of my focus and energy and attention. But the more I keep fixating on it, the more I keep like ruminating over like I should have said this or could have went that way. It's like,
Yeah.
well, it has already happened. So now it's my choice and my decision to say, I want to process the emotions, but I do get to decide that I'm past this now. And
Mhm.
so I know it's kind of a long, like roundabout answer, but I would say I listen to Audible books. I go for drives. I feel the emotion. I sit in the emotion. I cry. Then I take it to people that I trust having that conversation with.
Hmm, great tips. And I'm curious, being that you are kind of a personal brand, you're a creator, you have a podcast, you have a social media presence. You did mention you like to process on your own and not reflect too much off of other people. As you've gone through seasons of hardship, whether in business or your fertility journey, do you share those journeys in real time? Like, do you feel that desire to like keep your audience, because you have a large audience, in the loop on like what's going on behind the scenes and employee just quit or this just happened or, another month where we don't have a baby? Or do you kind of have a philosophy around like, I try to protect until I'm to the other side? What is your creator philosophy? Or do you just kind of go with what feels organic?
Yeah, I would say I'm more of a go with the flow organic kind of person. When it comes to more like personal stuff and I feel like it doesn't have an impact on anybody else other than me or like maybe me and my husband, I would
Yeah.
say I was more apt to share like the fertility journey and the highs and lows of that like in very real time. But when it comes to business stuff, I am very mindful and considerate of who else is involved in
Mm,
my hurt or my pain. And so I want to be conscientious of, we sign contracts with clients and NDAs and these sorts of things. And so it's like, what can I say? What can I not say? And then also because Kayla and I are 50-50 in our business, if she's not prepared to have that conversation with somebody, I don't want to open Pandora's box and then somebody's, approaches Kayla and she's not feeling ready to have it. So I feel like with business, there's a little bit of a lag time of what I'm willing to share and feeling like, okay. And I would say between myself and Kayla, I am the person that does share a lot more. I like social media more and I'm on
yeah.
there more. And so, when I'm thinking about this, I always am trying to think about if I go and share that, okay, May was really hard in business,
Mhm.
um, how will that impact Kayla as well? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like just being a little bit more considerate about the other people involved. But when it's my own journey, yeah, I'm an open book.
Hmm, I love that. Last question before we wrap up today. So you recently claimed a theme for 2025 of becoming well known, and I saw on your
Mhm.
Instagram that for 2026, you guys claimed become well paid. So I'm
Mhm.
curious, where does this thematics thing come from? Is that something you've always done in business? And why does that keep you motivated, or why does this practice work for you?
It's so fun. I love that you've done this little research. I think that a lot of the ways that we run My Line Purpose and our masterminds and the themes and that sort of thing come from my teaching background. So I taught high school, junior high and high school for, the latter part of my 20s into my early 30s.
Mhm.
And when you have a theme, when you have structure, when you have something that the students can buy into, then it just like makes it more enjoyable. And so,
Yes.
I would make themes for the month or like, well, and as a teacher, you have to like submit a year plan, a unit plan, and lesson plans and all these sorts of things. And you're always better off if you're prepared. And so when we started to build out My Line Purpose, we really took that teacher education lens to it. We say that we're a coaching and educational company.
Hmm.
And so we've taken that as like, how can we get our people to buy in and stay in and be excited about business? Because it's not always going to feel exciting. But if we can have a collective theme that we work towards, we do challenges all the time. So we run like
Love
these
that.
visibility challenges and bingo challenges, and we incentivize people, we reward them. We know that adults like to be incentivized as the same way kids do.
Mhm.
So, we're always giving out gift cards to hotels and spas and restaurants and stuff
I love
if our
that.
clients do the work that we ask them to do. And we always say, when you do this work, yes, you're going to be entered to win the prize, but ultimately, you're going to win because you're going to have the marketing plan set out for your business. And then
Yeah.
we're going to win because you're going to get the results. And your results are a reflection of the results of our program.
Yeah.
And we've been running our mastermind for 6.5 years, and we have people who stay with us year after year after year. It's crazy the re-enrollment that we
Yep.
have. But I know it's because we get people to buy into a movement of building a business and being a mom and having a lifestyle gets to be fun. And so every year we've chosen a theme and we ask all of our clients to choose a word of the year. And then every
Mm.
January, I don't know if this is going to be on video, but every January we have Melanie Ald, which is a Vancouver based jewelry brand,
Yeah.
engrave everybody's words of the year on a necklace and we have
Oh,
it sent to them.
oh
And
my
it's our like
gosh.
little gift to our clients. And so we've got some clients that have like six pendants on their necklace because they've just been with us for 6 years and
How
have a different word every
cool.
year. But it's just really important to us to keep having something that we can anchor back into. And so, if you were in the program and your word of the year was evolve, and then you're starting to go off the guardrails a little bit, we'd be like, tying it back into, okay, Kelsey, remember like for whatever reason, evolve was the word you chose. And so,
Yeah.
like, how is this a part of your evolution? And it just helps anchor us as the coaches into our community. And then having a
Yep.
collective theme is just, I think, fun to work towards.
So fun. I love that you do that within the community, the gamify, the incentives, the rewards, all that stuff. It just makes business more fun and brings a lighthearted energy to it. So
Yeah.
if people are interested in learning more about My Aligned Purpose, about you, I know you have an exciting book launch coming up. Share all of the places where we can go and support you and connect with you.
Thank you. We keep it really simple. It's My Aligned Purpose across the board. So our website is myalignedpurpose.com. Our podcast is My Aligned Purpose Podcast. Our Instagram is My Aligned Purpose. And our book is going to be released September 18th across all Amazon platforms. And our book is called Aligned CEO Method: How to Stop Trading Time for Money and Have Your Most
Wow.
Profitable Year Yet. And so we're really looking forward to that. And yeah, I trust that anybody who's listened to this episode, if you've got questions or anything that you want to share, then the DMs on Instagram are where I spend the most time.
Oh my gosh. Well, in a future episode, I will ask you how the heck you had time to write a book and do all the things on top of the full life that you live. But you are so impressive, and I'm sure we
Thank
could
you.
have spoken for hours just about your entire journey. But thank you for being open and honest and transparent with the Rain or Shine community. And
Thank
we
you.
wish you all the best. So thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Kelsey.